Coming in hot, it's Pete's and Picks. I'm Tyler Christensen. Joining me today is Coulter Olmstead, as always, and we have a very special guest. We're going to have two great guests within 7 episodes. I don't know how this is happening. I thought we were going to be famous first, but Tyler Nielsen, a basketball savant, business entrepreneur, is joining us. We're going to talk about his business, and we're going to talk some basketball. Tyler, how's it going? I like your background.
How's it going, guys? Appreciate you having me. And Tyler, that's a great intro. So maybe get a little audio clip of that, save it for later use down the road.
Coulter, how are you in the squares?
You know, I still haven't fixed this guy right here, but that as is life. So always something on the grocery list.
I gotta let the audience know I'm wearing a Kevin Durant Brooklyn shirt because I don't want people thinking I'm a huge Kyrie fan or even a Harden fan.
I was gonna say, dude, could have got a Harden shirt fresh off the press today.
It's true. I bet you'll be getting those in stock pretty soon.
Yeah, I would imagine, dude. Harden's one of those players that he's really big with like the younger kids and like the younger players' favorite players are generally my best sellers because they're bugging their parents to buy them, especially around the holidays and whatnot. So no doubt we'll be getting some Harden Nets jerseys in.
Yeah, Tyler has a business that sells NBA apparel, NFL apparel. We're going to get to that a little bit later, but our first topic today is obviously the trade that everyone's talking about, the 4-way trade between the Nets, Rockets, Cavs, and Pacers. We're going to go around and grade the trade for each team. So why don't we start with you, Tyler, since you're the guest. Why don't you go ahead, A to F scale. I'm a teacher. FYI, my background is teaching, so I know how to break it down into learning objectives. So we're going to break this down for each team. We'll start with the Nets, who only got Harden. A lot came out, so I'll break down the trade for people who don't have the internet. All right, so the Nets got Harden. The Rockets got Oladipo, Exum, and Jurix. I looked up his stats: 1 point per game, and he had some kind of assault last year. So as many assaults as points. 4 first-round picks and 4 pick swaps. That matters, but we'll see if they actually use them. Cavs got Jared Allen and Taurean Prince. Traded a first-round pick to get that. And the Pacers got Karis LeVert and a second-round pick. So let's start with the Nets. Got Harden. Lost a couple of swing players, rotation players. Tyler, what'd you think of the trade for the Nets?
I don't. It's tough. I don't know. It's tough. I mean, that's one of those things like we were talking before we hopped on here, where when you have a chance to get like a top 10 player in the league like that, I think you almost, I don't know. I don't want to say you have to, but it's. I could never give it like anything, lower than a B. Getting back somebody like James Harden. At the same time, though, I was kind of surprised to see that they gave up Jared Allen because I kind of thought, I thought kind of the plan would be DJ at the beginning of the year, kind of eating some of those minutes, and Allen, towards the end, I thought we'd kind of see him, finishing games out with those guys, with Kyrie and with KD. But so I was kind of surprised to see Allen go. But like you kind of touched on, the pick swaps. I don't think that's, I don't put a whole lot of stock into those, especially the one this year we can kind of just throw out since, there's no way the Nets are going to have a worse record than the Rockets. But it's kind of tough. I'll give it a B- right now, just because it's really tough. I just don't know how those three are all, I just don't know if there's enough shots in one game for all three of those guys on the court at one time. That said, like from a fan perspective, I'm really excited to see what those guys can do together. I'm excited to see Harden and KD back together, after almost 10 years or whatever, however long it's been. But yeah, I'll go with a B-. But one of those things where maybe we don't know exactly what's going on inside the organization. Maybe they're thinking that Kyrie may not be coming back, sooner rather than later this year. So they're just kind of, we already lost Katie with the injury last year, kind of have to make a move. So I can understand it. But yeah, I'm going to go with the B- myself.
What do you think, Coulter?
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Tyler. And yeah, who knows? I've heard that Kyrie may sit the rest of the season out for personal reasons. So who knows when he's coming back? And I think that gives James Harden and the Nets some more comfortability, because then there's more, opportunity to have him with the ball and instead of spreading the wealth. But I thought that Jared Allen was the biggest question mark and surprise to this trade, because he was closing games, the last few games, and playing really well with those guys running the pick and roll with KD and Kyrie. But it'll be interesting if Kyrie does come back, because he's ball centric. He needs the ball in his hands to make plays, and so does Harden. It could be a similar scenario to Houston, where him and Westbrook had trouble being on the court at the same time. So
yeah.
But who knows? Steve Nash and that crew, D'Antoni's worked with Harden before, so maybe they know something that they probably do know something we don't know. But Tyler, what do you think?
Well, what's your grade?
I think B- is spot on. I think it could be, a year from now, we could all be like, wow, this is, an AD type trade that changes the face of their conference. But also I could see a year from now, Kyrie doing the same thing and forcing a trade to get out of Brooklyn because he doesn't want to be the third option anymore. So it's hard to say. Yeah.
Right before we got on this, it's Thursday night, about 6:30 p.m. Charles Barkley, I don't know if he came up with this, but he's the first person I heard it from. He called Harden and Kyrie the Dribble Brothers. So Harden, Brand played with Splash Brothers and the Dribble Brothers. It'll be interesting to see how Steve Nash incorporates all three of these players. I'm not so much like you were saying, Coulter. I'm not worried about Harden or Durant fitting in. I am worried about Kyrie, probably naturally, because he's the third option. You compare him to some of the other big threes. I don't know, maybe like Chris Bosh, Kevin Love. Who's the third in the Celtics? Probably Ray Allen, but he kind of fit. So this is the first big three. Probably the best big three as far as talent, but this is the first big three that doesn't fit together as well as the other teams have in the past. So it's nice to have a legit big three in the league again. I was hoping that Harden would go to the 76ers to spread out talent a little bit more. And I would have liked to see Ben Simmons have his own team. But I'm okay to see the growth of that team too, the 76ers, that is. I think it's going to work. I actually picked Nets Lakers at the start of the year, so I was kind of thinking this might happen. I hope people went and bet on the Nets when they're 6-1, because I'm sure those odds have gotten worse. But I'm going to stick with my pick for Nets Lakers, and I'm going to give it a B+ as far as the trade goes. I think you guys are right on. They did give up so much.
They got worse defensively.
Yeah, that I think, like you were saying, Coulter, I think the Allen piece to this will be like what, and if we look back on it in like a couple of years, and where like what they may have given up that, I think I like Allen a lot. I think he's going to be a pretty good player. He's really young. He's only 22 or 23. It feels like he's been with the Nets. He might. I don't know. Do you guys know? Did he come? Do you guys know where he went to college?
Texas, one and done. Yeah. So he's only 22 right now, and
22. Okay.
Crazy athlete. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the in the defensive aspect of that for sure, because DJ, as much as I do love DeAndre, 13 years in the league or so, like he's definitely on the decline. So he'll give you those little spurts, 4 or 5 minutes of playing real, little flashbacks of the old DJ, and then then he'll give you a 20-minute spurt of not a whole lot. And Allen, just he kind of fit with that second group. So yeah, I think you guys are spot on with that. I think Allen will be the piece that we kind of look at down the road, if there is one.
Joe Harris is obviously the fourth who's going to close with these three. It will be interesting who will be the fifth. It probably won't be DJ, like you're saying, Tyler. I'm guessing they don't have many more pieces to trade, no picks, no players they'd want to give up. We'll see how quickly Spencer Dinwiddie comes back, but they'll probably get some type of buyout situation. Some veteran will probably want to join later. I've heard Dwayne Dedman as an early candidate, but there's a lot of big guys they could close with, or they could go small and play KD at the 5, Harden at the 4, kind of like the Warriors did with their death lineup, and maybe play Bruce.
Even like
Bowen's
Jeff
been
Green
really
could play the 4 or 5 too.
Whatever his name is. Yeah, I could see Jeff Green sneaking in there. Yeah, I don't think that's what they want to do.
Yeah, I don't know if I want Jeff Green closing any games for me.
I could see it. You're right, for defensive purposes and switchability. But they gave up the one player the player they had to put in the trade was Karis LeVert. He goes to the Pacers. So let's talk about the Pacers for a little bit. We can come back to the Nets at the end. Pacers get Karis LeVert in a second-round pick, and they just have to give up Oladipo. I personally like the trade for the Pacers. Comparing stats, you see Karis and Victor are pretty similar. Karis at 18.5 points per game, 6 assists per game, and 35% three-point field goal, and then the field goal percentage about 44%, and a PER of 19.5. Pretty much is similar with Victor. We'll talk about him in a little bit, but I like Karis on that team. I wish I had him on fantasy before this all went down. I give the Pacers an A because they gave up Oladipo, who they probably weren't going to re-sign next year, and they get Karis LeVert for the next 3 years at $51 million total. So it gives them flexibility and that young up-and-coming player. He's 26 right now. That Oladipo would have been leaving most likely anyways for a cheaper price. What do you think, Tyler?
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think I was talking with my buddy Kev, who's a big Pacers fan. Who, Tyler, I think you met the other night, and he and we were both kind of talking. And I think you're spot on. Oladipo is going to be leaving at the end of this. In free agency anyway. He'd already kind of made that clear that he wasn't, he was interested in a bigger market, spent enough time in Indiana. So I think you're right there. Like, I don't think they were going to be re-signing Oladipo. And I think you just upgrade with LeVert and a player with better upside in a better contract. Like, key point being, like you mentioned, he is in that, like, he is already locked in for the next 3 years at a pretty reasonable price in today's NBA anyway. So yeah, I'll give the Pacers an A as well. I like that trade a lot, and I'll be interested to see how they use LeVert over there, if they'll, and I'd be interested to get your guys' opinions on that. Do you think he'll be still like the kind of sixth man, like first off the bench and just kind of leading that second team? Or do you think I don't know, I could see him closing some games too, situation. I am interested to see how he's used throughout the year, but I think overall, I think that was a great trade for the Pacers. And I do like Oladipo. I just think, injury prone, he was leaving anyway, better contract, younger player with LeVert.
Tyler, what do you think?
So I think they'll close with Brogdon, LeVert, TJ Warren when he comes back. It will be interesting if they want to split up those minutes, but I'd put my stock in LeVert. I know Warren's been playing well lately, but I'd put my stock in LeVert if I had to pick one. But I think they'll actually play both them and hopefully just scatter the minutes. We'll see what Bjorken does, but they'll go Brogdon, LeVert, Warren, Sabonis, and Turner to close. I think they'll go with the big five, two big guys, and that's a really good team. They're second in the East right now. They're scary. They're a legit Eastern Conference Finals contender. I don't think they'll get there, but I think they're in the conversation with this trade. I think this brings them up a little bit more, just a little bit. I believe in LeVert a little bit more for his efficiency. Coulter, you're the big Warren fan. What'd you think?
I'm actually a big Karis LeVert fan too, so I loved this trade because I love the Pacers, and I think he works really well with what Brogdon and Sabonis are doing right now, even more than Oladipo did. He can come in and he can play with that second unit, or he can play alongside that starting crew. But yeah, I think it's good to have him right now, and then once TJ Warren comes back, they can work them together. But I think it was a good trade. Like you said, Oladipo's on a contract year. He's not going to stay. You got another player who's equal talent level, that's younger. He has had some injuries, but when he is healthy, he's shown that he can, be a valuable player on a starting lineup.
Really quick, if you guys could only keep one, TJ Warren or Karis LeVert. Or if you Karis LeVert. Okay, Tyler.
Warren keeps getting slept on, and he's going to continue to get slept on. I'd go LeVert. They were both amazing in the bubble. Someone will have to help me out with the Warren stats in the bubble. But LeVert was also Warren.
They were both first team bubble.
Were both first team bubble players. LeVert was 25, 7, and 5 boards and 1.5 steals when he has a team to himself, which is better than Oladipo's stats. Close to prime Oladipo stats, I'll say.
Yeah. Gotcha. I mean, I probably would go LeVert, but it's pretty close for me. Do you guys know off the top how old TJ Warren is? Because I'm a huge
28.
TJ Warren. He's 28, and LeVert is like 23, 24.
26.
Yeah.
He was a 4-year guy in college, and then he had some injuries when he came into the league, so he's a late bloomer.
Okay. If he's 26, dude, I'll take TJ then. Just to go a little contrarian here.
Walter always agrees with me. I get sick of it. Sometimes I argue against myself just for the fun of it. Coulter, let's come back to you. I know you like. Actually, I don't know if you like the Rockets, but I know you liked Oladipo. Probably sad to see him go. So give us a grade for the Pacers, and then jump to the Rockets.
The Pacers grade, I'll give an A-. I don't know what the negatives are. They got a 2nd round pick just out of that trade. And they have Karis LeVert for 2, possibly 3 years. So solid pick. The only thing is injuries, and any player has injury probability. So, but the Rockets, I'm going to give the Rockets a B+. Obviously, you lost a top 5 to 10 player in the league. They got their pick. They got all those picks, but they didn't have any of those picks that all went to OKC. So they got him back. So they broke even there. I like Victor Oladipo with John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins. Even if it's only for the rest of the season, I think that those 3 could be a decent core that could possibly, or not DeMarcus Cousins, Christian Wood, obviously, could fight for the 8 seed. But who knows? They're playing horrible defense. So are the Nets. So that's why I probably give them a B+. What'd
you think, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, I thought they got, for getting kind of backed into a corner with Harden, just, the way he was kind of making it clear he wouldn't. I mean, it was basically, you'll sit me or trade me. There's no in between. So being that they didn't, it didn't really look like there was too many other options for them other than to deal them right now. I'll give them a B, because I think they did get a decent amount of draft picks, not assets. But as I kind of touched on earlier, the pick swaps, I'm not terribly, those don't do a whole lot for me. The three first rounders, and like Coulter said, I'm excited to see, even if it is just a year, just to see, Wall and Vio and, Wood. And I actually am kind of excited to see Cousins, if he could ever, play a full game without getting kicked out.
Yeah, or hurt again.
Yeah, no. So I'll, just because it could have gone. So, this really could have gone on for another 2 months, and they're just sitting there with nothing back for him. And he's just getting more upset by the day. And it's just, so for that, like on that end, like to be in a position where the whole league knows that you have to trade him and still, get a decent haul back, I'll give him a B. But nothing, it doesn't make them in any way, shape, or form a contender. It doesn't do anything as far as they're not a threat, or I don't think it's going to improve their win count tremendously throughout the year. But yeah, just given that Harden was making it pretty clear that there wasn't any alternatives, there wasn't going to be a way to work this out. I'll give him a B.
I hope I take a class from you guys someday, because you guys are very generous graders sometimes. So I'm going to give the Rockets C-, and here's why. They should have waited and tried to get Ben Simmons. I don't think you're going anywhere with Oladipo. I think it'll be fun to watch, but I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I don't think they'll even re-sign him if I had to guess right now. It looks like they're in tank and rebuild mode, and I'm never a big fan of that. We'll see how it works. They obviously think they'll draft somebody better than Ben Simmons. We'll never know. We'll probably never know if Daryl Morey actually wanted to make the trade. So this might be a redundant conversation if it really wasn't on the table. But I don't know why he wouldn't be. Why wouldn't you want to pair up James Harden and Embiid? Two of the 6 or 7 best players in the league. I mean, I put them toe-to-toe with LeBron and AD as far as talent. So I would have waited a little bit. I'm okay with the draft picks, but I think the Nets are going to be good for the next 3 to 4 years. So you might get 2 first-round picks that are decent, but it's hard to hit on a player like Ben Simmons. I don't know if you guys heard this earlier, but the lowest grade I give is a C- in my classes.
We caught that part.
So I think I'm gonna stick with a C-. It'll be fun to watch, but I think it would have been a little more fun to see Harden and Embiid, but I could be wrong. I really like this Nets combo, so we'll see what happens. I like a lot of the Rockets players still, so they'll be a fun team for the rest of the season. But I'm not super high on that one for the Rockets. A little impatient.
Yeah, they're in like a soft rebuild. They haven't like totally agreed to just giving it all up and tanking. And I think it's probably because they didn't have any picks, but they got some picks back. So it should be interesting.
Tyler, do you think that if they would have made that trade with the Sixers, you think Ben Simmons on the Rockets as is, you think that changes anything? Because I personally don't really see them contending in the West either way.
They would have had to make some more moves. They need one more piece, I think.
Yeah.
And it would be hard because they don't have any picks, so maybe that's why they went that way. But they still have trade assets. We'll see. Most likely, PJ Tucker's going to be gone. We'll see if Eric Gordon sticks around. So I don't think the Rockets are done making moves yet. But I think they did have more moves to make, and maybe you could even squeeze Maxey out of the 76ers. That might have been the one thing holding that trade up. If the 76ers didn't want to attach anything to Ben Simmons. But yeah, it was an okay deal for the Rockets. That's why I gave them a passing grade, but I still would have waited for Ben Simmons. I like him on defense. I like him on offense.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I just think, I think that if they had known, if they had a little more time to kind of, throw out some feelers, like if this is this, off season, I think you can be kind of more dead set on, this is what we need. But I mean, I'm sure you guys saw like the way he was playing out there on Tuesday. It was just, it was like he was he kind of made it clear. It's like, this is going to be what you'll be getting the rest of my time here in Houston. So, I mean, and I only kind of say that because I didn't really like the trade either. But just because of being in that kind of time crunch where it's like they didn't really have a whole lot of a choice. I thought they got a little bit more than I was kind of expecting, to be honest.
Don't play him. Don't play him if he's going to be like that. That's what they would have had to do.
Yeah, I'm sure they would have I'm sure he just would have been on like the, coaches. Do not play. Did they get put on a list, like an inactive list to open up the roster spot? Is that how that would work, or would he just be MIA?
That's what they did with AD. They could just pretend Harden has COVID the entire season.
And Kawhi.
Yeah.
In San Antonio.
True.
That's true. Yeah.
All right, let's get to the best. No,
the real winners of this trade.
The real winner of the trade, the Cleveland Cavaliers, coming out of nowhere.
Yes.
That was random, but they got a lot back. They got Jared Allen and Taurean Prince for a first-round pick. Colter, what do you think? You like all these young guys. You like Jared Allen playing at Texas.
I love the Cavs just saying, let's get rid of our guards and let's get bigs. Let's just get all the bigs. Now they have Jared Allen, Taurean Prince, JaVale McGee, Kevin Love, and Andre Drummond. I say
Drummond running point, dude.
Yeah, start them all. Put them all out at 5. And what the Bucks under Jason Kidd tried to play like 6-7 footers that one year. But yeah, I don't know what they were doing. I know they were in the trade to make cap room and cap space work, but unless they're going to get rid of Kevin Love and maybe Andre Drummond, I don't know, but I think he works because Jared Allen's so young, and your backcourt Sexland is so young that it could be really good, but I don't know. Larry Nance Jr. is another big that they have, so the list goes on. I'll give it a C for the Cavs. C for the Cavs with a question mark.
That's a question mark.
Tyler, what'd you think?
Yeah, let's see. So they just gave up the one first-round draft pick and Dante Exum. Is that what I saw?
And Rodions Courage.
Okay.
Our guy.
I like we were talking earlier, I like Allen, but as you just mentioned, Coulter, I know it was to, move around and to create cap room. Is that to create a little cap room? But, I'm not going to give it anything more than a C right now I'm going to give it an incomplete right now, because I would like to see, who they're moving on from. I'd like to see them get rid of Drummond, keep Allen, and then I would really like that trade. But I really don't like it if Allen is just going to be playing to 18 to 20 minutes. If they utilize him right, I think that they have they didn't give up a whole lot. But like you said, we got Drummond out there who already is thinks he's a point guard. And we've got way too many bigs as far as I'm concerned. So I'll give it an incomplete for right now. I don't even want to put a grade on it right now.
So like the trade and like my audio, it was an awkward trade. It's going to be awkward fit for the Nets. We'll see what Steve Nash can do. I mean, he went to the perfect team. They're going to figure out some crazy system for this big three to work. Harden will probably bring up the ball. I think they're in the right position, and they made the trade early in the season. So now they have 60 games to figure it out before they get to the playoffs. So I think the first year for them might actually be the best before Kyrie runs off and starts living in the Caribbeans or whatever he's doing, and Harden gets sick of Durant. And the first year, I think, is going to be their best chance at it before everything blows up. But I think they're going to the finals. I'll stick with it. I'm not changing my Lakers pick yet because they look too good. But I'm I'm taking them to go to the finals. Rest in peace. One of my favorite nicknames from Kyrie, 7-Eleven, is gone. Find a new name. Maybe the Dribble Brothers. Durant really doesn't fit in there, so they're going to have to work on something new. But Tyler, you brought up a really good point. Here's another example. This trade is just another example of player empowerment. We've seen it over the last 3 or 4 years. It goes back to LeBron picking his team, picking his teammates as well. Here's some of the trades in the last 3 years. So we have Kawhi going to Toronto. You look back, that was a steal for Toronto, even if it was a 1-year rental. Then we had AD going to the Lakers for 3 young prospects and 3 picks. Paul George for SGA, Danilo, and 5 first-round picks. Westbrook for CP and a first-round pick. Drew Holiday. I guess
he didn't demand a trade, though.
Who?
Drew Holiday didn't demand a trade. They just traded him.
Okay. Fine. I guess that's fair. But Giannis it was the whole Giannis thing. It was the Giannis story they needed to keep.
Yeah, but if another team demands that you can't another team can't demand that you trade that player to them.
Player empowerment. Fine. You don't have to count that one. Some people might. Harden for the 4 picks. It's a fair point. Thank you, but I don't think that trade necessarily happens if it wasn't for everything else. If it wasn't for the fear of keeping the superstar around or keeping the superstar happy. Is there anything? What's happening behind this player empowerment?
Yeah, no, it is a good question because you look at like Houston and I mean they did it's like if they can't keep Harden, it's like they've literally changed the roster numerous times, coach it, let him have a say in picking his teammates. I don't know about coaches, but I mean, he's had a lot of say, and they, Houston fans defended him for so long when everybody was trying to, to say he's not playing, he's not playing a real pure style of basketball. All of this and yeah, I mean, for me personally, like I'm all for, like I'm always going to be like for seeing a player, get out of a bad situation or go make their money. Like I fully get that. I think there's a right and a wrong way to go about it, and I really just personally really don't like anything about how Harden went about this. Especially given the circumstances, where it's like he's kind of been running the show there for the last 5 years. He's, he can do no wrong in the city. The city loves him. The state of Texas loves him. And then for you to just get to a point where you're now, just the effort level is what gets me. You're just showing up out of shape and calling teammates out and just, that's where it's like, there is a way to go about this, talking with management, letting them know. And I fully get that, it's a 2-way street. So, sometimes he may think he has no other option but to do that, to get out. And like you said, I think the precedent has been set, in the last, 5-6 years, we've been seeing it a lot more to where you're right. I think 5-6 years ago, that isn't even really an option. It's like I could be unhappy. I might, make a few comments in the post-game press conference, but I don't really remember seeing guys just quit like this, 4 or 5 games into the year. But I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on that as well.
TC, what do you think?
I understand the team's perspective. I can just pause and wait as long as I want and think, and I just pretend it's a lag. But I understand the team perspective, trying to keep the superstar happy. But I think at some point somebody needs to stand up to the player and just not trade him. I think the Pelicans did the perfect thing. Just sit them. I mean, seriously, even if you have to pay them, it's trying in the middle where you're going to go with your franchise. When they sat AD, like Julius Randle developed, even if he did go to New York, maybe if they could have kept him around, they would have benefited from the other players developing. And then they did the right thing and traded him at the right price. So they were patient. Like I said, I think they could have gotten more, whether it was more from the Nets or more from the 76ers. Maybe sit him. I don't know. They did get a good haul. More you could have gotten, but somebody needs to set a precedent. If the players want to demand a trade, they can do that. The teams can trade them. I think the players should get trade clauses back in their contracts. A lot of them have gotten rid of it. That would be interesting. But if you don't like them, you don't have to trade them where they want to go. But it was a perfect fit. So I'm at the same time, I'm okay with the players doing it, and I'm okay with the teams doing it. But something does have to give eventually. Coulter, you're probably, I don't know. Are you on the owner side, the team side, or the player side on this one?
What's interesting, because it's kind of like gone up and down in waves. In the early 2000s, it was like a giant player-driven league, and then they had to literally change and like put a salary cap because Chris Webber had a 1-year draft extension, and then he went and signed a $7 million deal right after his rookie year, and that started a giant train of problems and horrible contracts. But yeah, I'm with the players. I mean, if you're not happy playing basketball, like you should. I get that these star players know that they have a finite amount of years at top level and they want to win. And I agree with what Tyler said, though. I think his effort level could have drawn more interest if he was playing at James Harden's 100% level. And I think he scared people away with the lack of his effort early in the season and showing up overweight and stuff like that. And who knows, there was multiple rumors, but I don't know how many actual offers were ever on the table. But yeah, I mean, we'll see if it works. Sometimes it does. I mean, these trades either work out miraculously, or 2 years later we'll be like, well, that was a horrible trade. They shouldn't have done that. So we'll see.
Okay, I'm good. Okay, so we've talked about some players demanding to go to a good situation, but some people make the best out of their own situation. Bottom, and then they get to the top on their own without any fancy trades, without any demands, without anyone else coming and helping them. And that's you two guys. We're going to focus on Tyler for the most part, but I'm talking with two entrepreneurs here, business owners, running the show themselves. We're going to talk about Tyler's story, but Coulter has his own story. We'll intertwine here. So I'm going to just sit here, be frozen, and not talk. And you guys are going to dominate this conversation here. So we'll start with Tyler. Coulter, feel free to jump in if you think a question fits in your background too. But Tyler, you have your own sports apparel store. It's called PNW Sports Apparel. You've been going for a while, just starting a website for it. But before I get too into details, why don't you give us the background story of your business? You just tell us what it is, and then tell us how it started.
Yeah, for sure. And I appreciate the intro once again, Tyler. Yeah, no, it kind of started for me back in back when I was in college. And it started out as more of just a hobby. I've always been a big sports fan, big fan of, sports apparel, team apparel, stuff like that. And in college, me and a buddy just, I can't even really put a finger on what really spurned it, but it was a summer. We were just, we both didn't have a job at the time, and just kind of, met like long days, not doing a whole lot. And we were both just kind of kicking around ideas like, maybe, we could do, get something going on the side, just, make a few extra bucks here and there. And so it initially started like we would just go to like the local TJ Maxx or, like those discount stores like Ross, places like that. And I remember one of the first jerseys that I bought to resell was like, I think it was those 2012 and those Team USA jerseys. Like our TJ Maxx here in Missoula had a bunch of LeBron ones, for 60% off. And I just, we were looking at it and was like, why are these things only $20? Like, what, looking at it, like, is there something wrong here? Like something like the stitching wrong or something, a little bit tilted or something. But, so that was kind of like my first introduction into the sports apparel and sports apparel reselling side of things. But I kind of maintained that through college, just on the side, while still going to classes here at the U. And at the time I was just selling on eBay and, Amazon, like just mostly eBay at that time, actually. So it was just kind of something I did, on the weekends or when I got back from classes or whatever. But I wasn't, I had a job at the bank, one of the banks here in town. So, it wasn't like, it was just 15, 20 hours a week here or there. And then when I graduated from the I went to work at that bank full time at Trail West Bank here based out of Lolo, Montana, actually. So I went to work full time there and still working on this on the side, but it just kind of became like, one of those things where it would run itself fine for probably 8 months out of the year. And then I would get to the holiday season. And, I could really I would be at work at the bank, and I'm looking at my phone, all these messages about different items and, can I get a picture of this one? Or can you expedite shipping on this? And it just got to the point I was just looking at it one day, I was like, I think I'm losing money, going to my job, going to my main job here. And I still kind of kicked it around for a year or so before I really made the leap to just say, let's give it a shot on my own and see if we can do this as my full-time job, not just part-time or side hobby, kind of a hobby, or just kind of a side hustle. So in 2017, August of 2017 is when I ended up quitting my job at the bank, and then just went to working on PNW Sports Apparel full time. And and I should mention, my sister and myself are the co-owners. My sister is out in Chicago right now, so she's not really working the day-to-day side of things. But she jumps in, here and there as needed. And then I'm handling most of the day-to-day stuff out of Tyler saw the setup out here in Missoula. But yeah, it's been pretty cool, and just kind of to think of where I was at, when I first started and what I was selling, the business model's changed a couple times, and it's and we've been kind of trying to dial in on exactly what our target market is. And it's people like yourself, Tyler, like yourself, Coulter, just absolute fanatics, that need or extremely want the newest gear every year. And it's something that I understood on a smaller level just as a fan, but I never really was huge into jerseys myself growing up. So even when I first got started, I couldn't even really fathom spending $200 on a basketball jersey or something like that. So it caught my attention really quick when people were happy to pay that, just because I had it in stock, and I couldn't find it anywhere else. So that's kind of the quick story for you guys. Now now it's mostly NBA and NFL gear. We dabble a little bit into MLB, but NBA and NBA jerseys in particular probably our best selling item year round. So yeah, and if you guys have any questions or need me to expand on anything there.
Well, I'll give the listeners, all 1 million of them, a little background here. found out about you, I was hanging out with our buddy Shirag on New Year's Day, and I don't even know what I was walking into. I just see like, maybe not hundreds of bins, but like dozens and dozens of bins, but probably close, like 70 or 80 bins, whatever it was you told me.
Probably about 100 of them.
Bins, and
Close.
you just started showing me all these jerseys, and I was going crazy. I like the shirts more because you can wear it like wherever. Jerseys are cool too, but I'm more of a shirt guy. And I just got my wallet out. I asked if he took Venmo. I think I bought 12 or 13
Oh yeah.
shirts and jerseys. It was disgusting. I just kept going. I had to leave. I like wanted to buy more, and I had to leave. I do recommend everyone checking it out. So I want to bring culture into this a little bit, and you, Tyler. I want to hear from you guys. What's the hardest thing about starting a business, or what's the hardest thing about keeping a business going? You guys can take it either way. Coulter, you got you're a video production person. Obviously, you're always working audio too. You're working a lot of side gigs. Tyler's kind of focused on one main venture, so there's some differences between you two. But you're both going out and finding your own business, so I see a lot of overlap. But Coulter, why don't you go first, and then Tyler, you can jump in. Coulter, what's some of the hardest challenges, either starting your business or keeping it going?
Well, I think Tyler hit the head on the nail there. It's taking that first step. Like I had a very similar situation where I had a job and then I was doing freelance work on the side, and then they start conflicting. And then at some point you're like, well, I got to take the jump, and it's scary and stuff like that. But that was definitely the hardest part for me, is like, jumping full time into it. And then there's those random days where you don't get any sales or don't hear from anyone, and you're like, oh my gosh, did I make a mistake type thing. But then almost immediately after that, it seems every time that's you get an email and you're just like, oh, okay, we're good.
Yeah, I can relate to that feeling with the email for sure.
Right. Yeah. And it's just interesting. It's building a network. Just like anything, is like you get people that like what you do, and they either recommend you, or like what your buddy recommended you to go check out Tyler's space, and then you ended up buying a bunch of stuff. If you're good at your craft, then people will recommend you and appreciate that. And I think that goes a long way, especially in like these more remote places like Montana.
For sure. I think, yeah, I would second that. I mean, the hardest part, like the first hardest step, is definitely taking that first leap when you kind of realize, that you probably should be focusing on, or making that more of a priority than the main steady source of income that you never have to worry about. And then it's like, as far, and this might just be more for me, but I think going forward, the toughest thing just day to day for me is like not having like the accountability side of it, just because I don't have anybody to, kind of like stand over me. Hey, like you need to, let's get that inventory counted up, or like, let's get that put away. So it goes both ways, because that is one of my favorite things about it as well, is being my own boss and not having to answer to anyone. But then there are some of those days where it's like, going into the office, just going in and seeing everybody else working towards a common goal sometimes can just be kind of motivating in itself. So I would say just kind of finding that motivation sometimes, and just kind of keeping yourself accountable, like making sure, like for me, I just, it's like, there's just certain things that, it just makes the whole day run easier if I get them done, if I just knock them out in the morning. And, I'm just like, that's one of the things where it's like, just small things like that I wouldn't normally think of if I had a 8 to 5, it's like, no, just routine. Like I'm getting up, shower, get in the car, drive to work, and here in working from home, which again, one of my favorite things about my current setup, but also at the same time, it's just like, there's just distractions, and, it's just, there's plenty of distractions anywhere I look in the house, and with nobody kind of over my shoulder, like, hey, let's dial it back in. Let's get back on track. I would say that's probably the biggest challenge for me personally.
Yeah, Netflix is always right down the hall, and it's like, I could go take a 10-minute break, and then it turns into a Netflix binge for an afternoon. Yeah, I've definitely been there.
So I want to ask one more question, because you guys have kind of been hinting at it. How do you plan your future goals? What are you guys trying to get to, and how do you plan a future goal, and how do you get there?
Tyler, you want to start, or you want me to start?
I'll let you start on that. I gotta think of a good answer for that one, Tyler.
It can be small. It can be a couple months out. Whatever you think. However you plan out the future.
Yes. So as video production, you're kind of just like looking. You're getting clientele and stuff like that. Relatively short notice, so I can't schedule stuff super far in advance. So my goal, I kind of set like monthly goals, quarterly goals, and then like yearly goals. And I guess like as far as growing is just trying to like get better at and more efficient at what I do. I do a lot of stuff from home also in the editing side of things on the computer. So it's just like getting my workflow a lot more efficient, but then also getting better at talking to clients like right away, and just the little things. Yeah, it's all accountability when you work for yourself, and you can look at an email and then you forget about it type thing, and no one's going to remind you to reply to it. So it's just making sure that you hold yourself accountable and then look forward on how that accountability can push you into the next steps.
Yeah, for sure. And something that I do a lot, and this might be just kind of more independent to my just our business, but since a lot of ours are kind of like, a certain amount of listings up or getting X amount, like these like I have a lot of stuff that I need to take pictures of for the website, stuff like that. So I mean, anytime I have like a really daunting task like that, I always like to I'll just make I like to make smaller kind of, I'll break it down like into, like Tyler was kind of touching on, like I'll do like a monthly, or I'm sorry, Coulter, like you were kind of touching on, like I have like monthly goals for myself as far as like I want, I need to get this many new listings up or add this many new products or, research like these specific jerseys or whatever that may be. And then like what I'll usually do from there is kind of like I'll just take a little bit of time, when I'm kind of thinking this out, like thinking out where we need to be in the future or whatever. And then I just try to kind of cut it down to like, all right, what's a manageable, like what can you do? Like, what can I do that's not gonna like, throw off my day, or, you know what I mean? Like, all right, I could do like I could get pictures of 5 jerseys done a day in the morning, and that, that's probably not going to take more than 20-30 minutes, and I can start the day. Like, so I like to just kind of break it down into smaller pieces like that. So I'll have, like I have a whiteboard up in my office, and sometimes I'll have like, a goal up in the corner, and then I'll have like, and then below it, like what I need to do per day. So even if I do miss a day or whatever, like it's easy for me to look and see, okay, like I can kind of make it up. But that's kind of, that's just more like the numbers based goals. To be honest, like I don't personally set a whole lot of goals, like in terms of sales for the year and whatnot. I always am comparing it, no doubt. I like to see, I want to see growth for sure. But I just think like you really, like when you were talking about the emails, that really like, I feel you on that one, because, and I think, and that's part of why I don't do the sales goals as much, or those bigger picture goals, like based on numbers, just because then I do start kind of like, I'm counting sale emails, even when I'm not working. Oh geez, like only a couple sales overnight, like, all right, I got to get on, make sure everything's good, like something happened over here, and so sometimes I think, like sometimes just for me personally, like I think I can kind of it can kind of do the opposite for me to set those kind of like numbers goals for sales and stuff, but just for like day-to-day stuff, I just like to try to make it, break it down into a manageable chunk of, time or, whatever the task may be. And then I just try to, do it for a couple of weeks to where I just, it just kind of gets built into my habits for the, start of the day or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's scheduling is a massive thing, and there's an infinitely long list of things to get done. So yeah, I think managing time and managing your ability to not burn yourself out when you're self-employed is a really big thing to control.
Yeah, and managing the time, I would second that for sure. That's probably the one area where it's like, I think probably anybody that you talk to that's, self-employed or, is kind of their own boss. It's like, that's the one let me know if you get that one down, man.
Right.
Like, that's the one I'm always trying to improve it seems like every year, every day, it's like, oh man, I could utilize that time a little bit more usefully. But
I was curious, did COVID this last year has just been like ridiculous for everyone. But for online stuff and the retail that you do, I was curious if you had any like change, because I have a buddy that sells like sporting cards, and he said he went into lockdown and the sporting cards business just like blew up.
Oh, dude, it went nuts.
And so I was curious if the jerseys and stuff like that did the same thing.
Yeah, it's kind of it's one of those things, because I get this question a lot, because it is pretty interesting. And I'll start with like the first, like once Gobert tested positive, they shut the NBA down. Like, it started with like the rest of that week was really slim, just because I think there's just a lot of uncertainty. Like, it's like, no, like we're probably good on the jerseys that, we don't even know when the NBA is coming back. Like, let's just, and more important things to address. So I did, I didn't panic or anything too much. I figured it would just be kind of a small blip. But then after that, probably like the week after, starting like the week after, it actually kind of went the other way. And yeah, it did it increased pretty significantly in the holiday season, especially, just not, people not having the option to go to a brick and mortar store and most places in the country. And just, given the circumstances, I mean, why would you if you can get it online? So we're coming off of, our best year to date that we've done, as far as yeah, I would say, I think Q4, I don't know. I'd have to go, like, I haven't done our taxes or anything yet, so I can't speak on the whole year, but I know like September through December was our best year to date in sales. So this holiday season was kind of nuts. And yeah, I think a lot of it was definitely, due to COVID and everything kind of going, the current climate. But I do think a little bit of it is, like you were saying, with your buddy who sells the trading or sports trading cards, is there is like people are just kind of stuck in home, and it's just like that nostalgia, like, oh, well, it's like, I'm not going to be going to a game anytime soon. Like, might as well order something. Like, I would be spending the money on tickets or this or whatever anyway.
Yeah. I mean, you're in quarantine and, you're sitting on your phone surfing the internet, and then all of a sudden your shopping cart is, got 15 things in it. I definitely am guilty of doing that, buying things I didn't need to buy during quarantine. I did have one question. During the bubble, did you see any like random people, there was the random players who just like balled out in the bubble, like Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell? Did those like random players sales just like go up during that time, or did you see any of that?
Yeah, for sure, dude. We Booker went through the roof, especially when they, because they finished undefeated, right?
Yeah, but they
in
didn't
the bubble,
make the
or did they
playoffs.
lose one?
No, they went 8-0.
No, he
but...
yeah. Yeah, Booker jerseys were selling really well during the bubble. And then, yeah, Mitchell jerseys, Murray, Jokic. Like I sold, does it, as a Clippers fan, it, eased the pain a little bit because I had a lot of Denver gear on hand. And, we unloaded almost all of that once they came back and beat the Clippers. But yeah, no, it's really interesting seeing stuff like that. And I'll see that even, just like day to day, if I'm just watching a game, and like the Nets the other day were wearing their, those classic edition, those all blue. And, you'll see the sales kind of correlating. People see, people are watching them and they see, oh, like maybe they haven't seen that jersey yet, or, it's kind of interesting seeing things like that. And, and not as much in NBA, but in NFL, just with there only being 16 or 17 games in a year, if like, you'll see it, I see it a lot more in NFL. So like if a team is going to wear like one of their alternate jerseys on like a Thursday or a Sunday night game, usually if it's in prime time, but then it, sometimes like that's one of the things that I'll try to kind of stay on top of, because if you can get some of those ahead of time and then have them like on hand for, for that game or whatever, it is kind of nuts though, seeing the, the trends and just seeing like the direct effect, like, oh yeah, there's, Kyrie and the City Edition jersey, and, we sold 3 of those last night or whatever. So yeah, in the bubble, Mitchell, Nuggets, and then the Suns. And Booker in particular, but honestly, all Suns gear was flying off the shelves.
I just got unfrozen, so perfect timing. No, but before we move on, really cool stories. Thanks for sharing both of your stories, you guys. I think a lot of, maybe we get a younger audience. I think a lot of young entrepreneurs going out on their own will find your stories really cool. So we're doing this draft. We're going to do our 5 favorite NBA jerseys from any decade, any time. It's going to be, I think Tyler is going to even throw us some, not throw it to us, but he's going to show us some of his cool merchandise. Maybe he'll draft his own jersey.
Yeah, I'm going to try to keep it within the ones I have.
Coulter, maybe like for people at home for our picks.
Yeah, I'll find some pictures and we can pop them up. Yeah.
All right, you're the video guy. Okay. So we're gonna do a snake draft. We don't need to really explain it, but we're gonna give Tyler the first pick. Coulter, do you want the second or do you want third and fourth? You made a mistake last time when I drafted Bradley Beal.
Yeah, you're right. I'll go 2.
Okay. Tyler, why don't you take it?
Yeah, you're the number 1 pick. Who you got?
All right, I'll start it off. And I do have this one on hand, guys. I'm gonna go with the Vancouver Grizzlies. The all teal. It's kind of tough to argue with this one. I don't know if you guys can see that, but and only thing that would make this better if it was a Morant jersey, Jaren Jackson. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of the all teal, and even this little trim on the sleeves is kind of cool. But yeah, I thought that was one of my favorite, or one of my favorites growing up, and I thought that was probably one of the best ones that Nike did last year, bringing back like the retro for their hardwood classic edition. So yeah, I'll go with the Vancouver Grizzlies for my first pick.
I had that one on the list too. That was high on the list. I'm gonna stick with a jersey that was also came out the same year that jersey came out, and it's the Toronto Raptors Dino jersey. The all purple one with the Raptor on it. The 90s had some amazing jerseys, to be honest. At the time, people thought that they were very ugly, but I disagree. But yeah, one of the greatest memories I have of starting to watch basketball is watching Vince Carter in the dunk contest in that jersey. And so there's just like some crazy nostalgia, and yeah, great jersey.
Yeah, that's a great pick, because I feel like Toronto really was the first team that, that kind of went outside of those basic colorways, and, took, like you said, took a lot of heat for it at the time, but I don't know if we get like all of the cool combinations that we have now if, that didn't start, if somebody didn't take the plunge a little earlier. So love that jersey.
Apparently Canadians have better fashion sense. I don't know what's going on here. I'm not going to, I can't pick a Toronto Blue Jays jersey, but I'm not picking them. I'm going American made here. Well, I'm going with our first American team. I'm going to go with the black pinstripes bowl jerseys, keeping it in the 90s.
Nice.
I think the players, like we keep talking about the players that are making these jerseys. Just thinking about MJ and that sick jersey. I had it back in the day. I still have it in like a kid's small. Maybe I'll wear it on one of the podcasts. Small kids jersey. And then my second one, I'm gonna go with I think it's called the Showtime Gold with the Lakers. I'm sure Tyler has this one in stock, probably save for Shrug. But I'm
got a disgusting amount of those Showtime Gold jerseys.
Just the Clippers fan.
Your background. It's in the background picture. Who is that? It's Kobe and
that's Kobe and Nipsey Hussle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, R.I.P. Both legends.
Okay, so I'm four. Wait, yeah, we're on five. We're on five.
Tyler, okay, yep.
Tyler at 3 and 4. This is a tough one. There's a lot of really good jerseys I have on my list still. I'm gonna go. I could go either way here. I'm gonna go with Utah Jazz, and I'm gonna choose the Purple Mountains jersey.
Oh.
And I'm gonna save my other one, but that's another one that the like 90s I thought did really good job, and even into the early 2000s they rocked that jersey.
Yep, that was actually going to be my next choice. Got it right here, man. This easily one of the coolest.
So clean.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So dirty.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised the Jazz didn't keep this one around. They brought it back last year, but I don't think they're playing in it this year. But yeah, that is a great jersey. I always think of Malone and Stockton when I see that jersey right off the bat. That's interesting. That was going to be my second pick myself, but let's see here. All right, I will go. And
just pulling out all the jerseys.
Yeah, he's just got a stack.
And so this is like I'm gonna go with the Denver Nuggets. This is slightly different one than the one I'm thinking of. I'm gonna go with the rainbow, like the royal
skyline?
blue. Yeah, with the skyline, which Denver smartly has been bringing back as their city edition. And so this is what they did with it a couple years ago, which in my opinion probably the best city edition that Denver has put together so far. They just did the same one last year with just black, which I'm a huge fan of that white one. But yeah, for my official pick, I'm gonna go with the blue, like the royal blue rainbow skyline one. When I looked it up, they were I think in the late 80s. But yeah, I like that. Any of those skyline ones where you have kind of the city incorporated, I'm a huge fan of those.
All right, so you get another pick, Ty.
Oh
yeah, because the snake draft, so we're like flipping back over.
Yeah,
so.
You're right. I got you. All right, and for this one, I'm gonna go a little bit more modern, but I'm gonna go with the Miami Vice from 2018 and
that
19.
was my next pick.
Yeah, and we'll go. I got
so
this
dirty
Wade one on hand. Yeah, these ones are pretty tough to compete with. And same thing. The Heat kind of keep playing off of this. Like last year, it was all blue. I think the first year that they did it, it was actually white. But the black version is easily my favorite, especially since D Wade actually did get to play in those his last year. So yeah, it's hard to argue with again, that's not one I would probably wear myself, but easily one of my favorites of just in general. And I think Nike absolutely killed it with bringing back the Miami Vice style.
If you got a Bam Adebayo one in that style, I'm a gonna take that. So
I do not have any BAM on hand, dude, but we'll see what I can do.
all right. That was gonna be my next pick. So we're still each other's picks, 1 for 1. I'm gonna go. Gosh, this is like all my picks are the '90s ones. I'm gonna go a modern. I'm gonna stay modern here, and I'm gonna do the Utah Jazz Red Rocks jerseys.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The Moab ones are super. I don't know. They're super cool. I love the fading colors. It's like the most Utah thing ever, and I appreciate the hell out of it. So, yeah.
Not a bad choice. Not a bad choice.
Good one. I'd be interested to see if Tyler has this one or ever had this one. I'm going back to the 90s. I mean, the 90s really dominated it.
Yep, they did. Yeah.
But I'm going with the Magic Electric Blue.
Nice.
The Shaq, Penny Hardaway days. Yeah. Those were pretty sick jerseys, and it was a good team. I don't really see them around too much. They probably brought back.
Is that the pinstripe? Right. Okay.
Yeah. Pinstripe one,
yep. I think they brought him back. Yes, I think same thing as those. Donovan Mitchell and the Memphis. I think they brought him back last year. Actually, Aaron, like they might be a slightly, like I'm trying to remember. No, I had a couple Gordon pinstripe ones last year. And those are ones like all three of those that we just mentioned, like those Utah with the mountains and those old Vancouver, I would love to just see the NBA, like, I know they have a pretty strict like 4 jersey per limit per team or whatever, but for some of these, I mean, I feel like you gotta let some of these teams, expand that out to 5 or 6, like still make money, introduce a new one every year, but some of these have got to stick around for more than a year.
Yeah, they got to do some sort of throwback night, and we got to see Utah Jazz and the Grizzlies like rock those 2 jerseys against each other. I think that would be so cool.
For sure. Yeah, no, they did a couple times last year, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, this next one, I bought myself just the shirt. Didn't get the jersey, and it's a new one. The City Edition Suns. It's so random.
The Valley.
The Valley.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that one's sick. I will definitely be wearing that on a future pod. I got the shorts for it too. It's probably my favorite.
I forgot you got those shorts, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was afraid Coulter might snipe that one from me if I let it go around. Maybe even you, Tyler. So I'm picking that one up for my second modern jersey.
Nice. That was going to be up there for my next pick. So good choice. I'm gonna do a Suns also, but their '90s black jersey with the sun across it.
Great.
Charles Barkley, a young Jason Kidd when he rocked the blonde hair. Those are some of my good memories that I have. People rocking that jersey. I don't think I've ever seen them bring that jersey back, but that'd be one that I think would be cool to bring back. Yeah,
that was also on my list, and I agree. I think that's probably coming back in the next year or two if Nike, I think that's one that's going to make its way back for sure.
Yeah.
Is this me?
Yeah, your final 2.
Yeah, your final 2 picks.
Love it. Okay. Let's see. So for my 4th, as much as I hate the Lakers, I'll give them credit. I love that classic edition, that royal blue, and I don't have one on hand. I wish I had one on hand to show you guys, but I think you guys probably both know what I'm talking about.
Tyler does.
Oh yeah.
I think he has a shirt of one.
Yep. That's right.
Oh no, are you going light blue or are you going with the dark blue?
No, I'm going that exact one right there. Yep. Like I think it was like the 60s, right? Like I'm just picturing Jerry West in that jersey, in that 44. That honestly, like that gets buried a little bit just because I can't stand the Lakers, but gotta give them credit there. And that's one that I've been waiting for the last like 7 months for Nike to release, and still have not found a men's size jersey at all.
Wow.
See, like I got two of them. I got the LeBron and the AD, so I agree with that.
That's right. I forgot you snagged those as well. Let's see. And all right, for my last pick, I will go a little bit off the beaten path, I think here. But I'm gonna go with the Dallas Mavericks with this green, and they're actually wearing it this year. But this like the all green, I just think it's really clean. No logo, just just very simple. And I'm trying to remember when. This is the late.
I think that late 80s is when they rocked that one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And that one is just, I don't know, like it's just something about that green and also like the logo that they have it actually has like the I think it has like the horse in it. It's just a cool little design. And yeah, the green, it's just a color you don't see in the NBA really right now. So I'm a big fan of those, the green and then the royal blue trim.
Nice. All right. So my last pick, it's between, I have two choices, and I'm going to do a nostalgia pick because I'm hoping that one day in the near future, this team will be back in the Northwest. And I'm going to go with the Space Needle Edition Sonics jerseys.
Yeah, dude.
The colorway, no, I the classic green and yellow and white ones I liked, but the Space Needle ones that kind of have like that off burgundy color on them.
Yo,
just the good old days of when we had a basketball team in the Northwest.
Soon, dude, soon.
Yeah. So Blazers, yeah, but they're a little further.
Okay, so you guys have been taking a lot of my picks here. Tyler, did you have any last swag that you wanted to show off? Any recommendations? Or I have a pick if not, but
I mean, I had this Raptors. It's a little bit different from that from the all purple version,
one, but it's still cool.
Still like that. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of anytime we can get, a cartoon on here and make it still look pretty good. But just like we were kind of talking about, just doing a lot of different things with the jersey that they weren't doing at the time. So, that's part of it. But yeah, I like this kind of throwback, and then with a little bit of a modern twist that Nike did last year. But no, honestly, all the other ones I either showed you guys or you guys already picked.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'll go with the Pacers. This one's kind of weird. It's with Reggie. It's like a yellow one. What was it called? The Flojo. It was called the Flojo. Yellow, kind of like a weird slash.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
like the
those are cool.
Yeah, kind of a random one. I don't know. You guys took everything. Everything got scooped up. Like my whole list. I didn't think my whole list would be taken, but
I had the Pistons Flaming Horse jersey that they rocked in the 90s also. That was on my list.
Yeah, that's another good one. That is let's see.
They brought that back for one game last year, I think, but
yeah, that's another one that they should absolutely bring back and wear like 5-6 times a year.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we've gotten to the end of the pod. It was great having you on, Tyler. We're going to get your social tags and everything here in a second. I know you have a website that's currently being made. It's in the process of being updated. So everybody go and check out PNW Sports Apparel. I can tell you from personal experience, it's stuff that I haven't seen before other than being on TV. I've never seen like shirts like this anywhere else. It was better than the Nike store. I went crazy. Goodbye stimulus check. So highly recommended all the NBA fanatics. Tyler, where can we reach you at?
You can reach us on Instagram, just PNW Sports Apparel, and the same, just PNW Sports Apparel on Facebook as well. And then our website is just pnwsportsapparel.com. So yeah, just reach out on any of those. And like you mentioned, the site's kind of under maintenance right now, but I'm still, you still can get a hold of us through any of the social medias or just contact us on the website page. So yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, same, man. We'll have to talk some Clippers basketball, and we'll have you on again when we
For
have some more
sure, dude.
basketball.
Maybe wait until they do something worth having me on for.
We'll wait like till the trade deadline and see if they make any moves or something like that.
Yeah, I'll be down to hop back on, dude. Once Jerry flips Paul George here in a couple months.
After he starts playing good.
So exactly what he did with Blake, dude. Signs that max contract, and then like 2 months later, he's in Detroit. Poor guy.
All right. Well, make sure to check us out on Spotify, Pizza and Picks podcast. And until next time, keep the slices coming. All right. Later.